Hello, my name is Grumpy. Grumpy Eye. Grumpy Eye. Grumpy Eye.
Okay, let's watch the Camural's video.
Star Citizen Live Master Modes.
And this year, we announced Master Modes, which was a pretty dramatic change to the way that our single-seat ships, our dogfighters, whatnot, are going to handle in the verse. It's currently in testing right now under the Squadron 42 branch. Without rehashing the entire presentation, for folks who maybe haven't seen it, what is Master Modes?
Pause. Jared, there was nothing shown so far, just some very vague description and spoiler. CRG doesn't even show a video here either how master modes are supposed to work.
So master mode.
I mean, it was shown during CitizenCon, right? It was really brief, and it was just for the Gladius, but it was shown to a degree. So
basically, our way of fixing the combat in the game. What's the fundamental problem with the kind of combat geometry that we have in the game right now? And the common denominator was speed.
Pause. I don't think that speed is a problem because most of the spaceships we have in the game 900 years into our future are slower than SR-71 in atmosphere. And before 3.0 we had SCM speeds and Afterburner. In Afterburner mode you couldn't turn much, I mean very, very slightly. So people were in SCM mode whenever they wanted to fight. Still, they were just jousting, even though speeds in SCM mode were rather slow.
We just didn't want to do like an overall action kind of cap, you know, because there's still so many things you do in Star Citizen beyond combat. You know, you spend a lot of time traveling from A to B. And, you know, the distances we have in the game are crazy, you know. We travel millions of kilometers all the time in the game.
I do want to clarify, when you say speed, you're saying high speed.
Yes, high speed.
Too much speed.
Yes.
Because I think from a layman's perspective, from an outsider's perspective, you know, for those of us who watch racing and watch, you know, combat movies like Top Gun and everything, more speed seems to be a good thing. It seems to be the thing that makes stuff exciting, makes stuff visceral. Everybody likes, you know, bobbing and weaving through canyons as fast as possible. But you're saying too much speed actually hurts the combat experience.
Yes, yeah. So if you're traveling very quickly, the distances you cover in that amount of time become really large. So if you're having a dogfight with someone and you're flying at 1,000 meters per second, within a very short amount of time, you could be 3 or 4 kilometers away from your target if you turned around, and then you're flying back toward each other, and then you basically repeat the action, and you just end up firing at the nose of your opponent. And that's not really fun.
Pause. Again, no one was dogfighting in Afterburner mode before 3.0 because you could turn only very, very slightly.
Yeah.
People were dogfighting in SCM speeds. So I don't get how reducing the speeds will fix the problem. I think the main problem is World War II in space just doesn't work. Space combat is very different from combat in atmosphere in airplanes. And reducing the speeds, we had this before, people were still jousting. So I don't think this will work.
So what Cam is referring to here is the old flight system that got scrapped, and then we got this one that we have, and the old flight system. And I knew that this is going to happen a year ago when I talked to some people that talked to CAG, because CAG is never going to talk to me directly. But I knew that this was going to happen and that we're going to get these modes again. And I know that I was on Salty Mike's podcast and we were talking, and I mentioned this to him, and he was like, what? We already had that. Like, why would they bring that back? They scrapped it because it didn't work. And yeah, they're bringing it back, basically the same thing, but it's going to be called differently, and it's going to be completely new. So, like, that's what Camural is talking about.
The goal for this was to bring the combat closer and to make it much more about kind of outmaneuvering your opponent. So if you can get the edge on your opponent and you're trying to do this and that, move around each other, there's going to be key moments in this where you get an advantage and you can use the distinct weapons you've chosen, you know, your special loadout you've chosen, and those things will be an advantage, but also be disadvantages too. But we want it to be about those moments where you really engage in combat and it becomes about outmaneuvering your opponent rather than this kind of slingshot, kind of nose-on-nose combat we've kind of been used to.
Pause.
Yeah.
Actually, this is in the game since forever, outmaneuvering your opponent and choosing the right weapons and components. Actually, it was you, CIG, who leveled the playing field in 3.14 by giving us very generic component and weapon stats. How about giving us meaningful values back? If you would go back to 2.5, ship combat and component-wise, this game would be 10 times better. It was not perfect in 2.5, but it was really, really fun, and you could really see the differences in skills.
Yogi, why don't you...
Now, I can't speak about 2.5, but I can tell you that 3.12 or 3.11, I don't know when they scrapped. Yeah, he said 3.14, so they changed the model for 3.14, but I started in 3.11 or 3.12, and I think it was 3.11, but it doesn't matter. But the combat, I talked about this, I think, on my last stream. The combat was completely different than what we have right now. Yes, there was jousting. Yes, there was certain metas, there were metas, but for example, the energy weapons, and I understand that they wanted to reset everything to default stats so they can work from there and change them from there, but it's been a year or even more than a year and we still are not seeing any changes, so that's an issue. But back in 3.12 we had, or up until 3.12 we had, for example, energy weapons. You have attritions and the B repeaters and the CF repeaters, and the CF repeaters had the lowest alpha damage and the lowest DPS, but no drop off at range. The NDBs had like medium range and medium DPS, and then the attritions were supposed to be used up close. They had a huge drop off, like damage drop off at range, but if you were close and if you were keeping them at the like heated, because you had like heat levels on your coolers and on your weapons and all of that, so if you were just like almost overheating with them, that would basically do like twice the damage. So that was a really good idea, and it was working really nicely. And then you had like ballistics, and all of them were different, but that was working really nicely. But then they scrapped it, and a year later, this is what we have. Still.
Tell us what the two operational states are. What are the two master modes?
So the one state is basically your combat mode. We're still like talking about whether it's should be like standard control mode or actual just combat mode. This is the mode in which you do the majority of your gameplay, and like you're gonna do all the combat stuff. You're probably gonna do mining in that as well. And the other mode, which you swap your ship into, it was called QCM in our presentation recently. We're just gonna call it NAF mode because it's more descriptive name for it. Mm-hmm. And this one allows you to use your quantum mode, and it allows you to unlock the high velocities, but it makes your ship very, very vulnerable in terms of like there won't be shields or weapons. I'm not
gonna say it solved everything, but it solved the majority of the issues without really causing another problem, which was the kind of loop we got into before with changing the way the shields work and the weapons and stuff. We just, we were always creating another problem with what we were trying to solve, and that's something we really, we definitely think we've avoided with the master modes.
Pause. Two things I would like to mention. Reducing speeds to SCM when you are in combat was what we had before 3.0. No one was doing combat in Afterburner mode because you couldn't turn your ship, very, very slightly. Second, once again, this feels like two people who want to make a game and they are just starting throwing out ideas. This doesn't give me any...
Yes, like Cam is on point here, honestly. We reacted to this last Friday. We were watching this together, and that's basically the same thing that I said. It seems that they just started making a game, and they're trying to figure out how to make it. and what are the best things to do. It's not like we're fucking 11 years in development at this point. It's just like, yeah, so we have an idea, and then they tell us basically the same thing that we had before, but it's a bit different. Trust us, it's different, but it's still face tanking. So, all right, let me switch the cam. So, currently, in Star Citizen, we have this. Pew, 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 pew. You look at this guy, he looks at you, and you shoot each other, and you, like, circle each other. You try, there's a lot of... What the fuck was this? I should have probably cleaned these a couple of days ago, but fuck it. So, you have that, and that's the only gameplay that you have. So, that's basically you just using your own mechanics, like your mechanical skills, basically, to, like... outmaneuver the other guy while he's trying to outmaneuver you, and you're shooting each other. And that's it. And that's like that gets stale really fast because it's always the same thing. And the other guy is going to be better than you, or the other guy is going to be worse than you. And that's how it works. But if you play these, like if you ever played DCS or any games like that, where there are some actual maneuvers, and I know that it's really hard to do that in a space game. Like, you have a ship, you have a plane, you're on his tail, and you're trying to kill him. And then he can do certain maneuvers to try to get you off his tail, or to try to get behind you. First thing that comes to mind is the Cobra maneuver. And like the follower just like pushes through, or the attacker, and then you're on his tail. But then you have an issue because you're slower than him. You have less energy than him stored in your plane. And if you do not know energy fighting with like World War II, that was like a thing that I'm always going to talk about, because this is like that's really important. Energy fighting and conserving energy and all of that. That's really important for like strategic purposes and tactical purposes during a fight with planes, with actual planes. But we don't have that. We have spaceships. Okay, but there is a way to fix that. There is a way to make it like that, and not just make it like a arcadey face tanking stuff. And then you showcase a video. Let me show you this. This is the wrong thing, right? Crusader. All right, so we're gonna continue watching Camural's vid, but I just wanted to show you this. All right, so what do we see in this scene? The MSR is being chased. Full speed. They're trying to get away from fighters. Okay, the ballistas are firing. Where are the fighters, though? We had some shots with fighters, I think. No? Then it was another video then. Yeah, I think it was another video. But if you think of like space fighting, what's the first thing that comes to mind, especially when you know that Chris Roberts is a fan of Star Wars and he wants to make a Star Wars-like universe with Star Wars fighting? Star Wars is based on World War II and those maneuvers and all of that. It's not realistic, it's arcadey. If you ever played Star Wars Squadrons, you would know that you can only go forward, you cannot backstrafe, you can go forward. You have... I forgot what they called them, but you have basically capacitors, the same thing that we have in Star Citizen, but that only means if you like try to go, if you're trying to go fast and you switch to weapons, the capacitors are going to go to like weapons, but then you will go much slower. So you always need to like balance the capacitors so you can go fast-ish or have weapons or whatever. You gotta play it so you would understand it. But then we get what Camural is talking about and what these guys are talking about. that's like gonna change the game so much, which is good because the current PvP state is it's bad. But what happens when a guy goes into the full speed mode? What happens then? Whatever they call, I think they call it nav mode now. It was called QCM before. Then the attacker that's attacking that ship, let's say the MSR, and you have a Gladius that's attacking the MSR, he can only follow him forever, basically. Like, if you're the attacker, you can only follow your defender or your prey because you don't have guns and you don't have shields. But if you have guns still and no shields, then you go into like DCS kind of stuff. Because ships are going to fly like planes in QCM or nav mode. And if they have guns, then the MSR can shoot backwards with the turrets and defend itself. And the Gladius will not just like fly around the MSR and shoot it from all sides while the MSR is just there like sitting useless and trying to get out of dodge because like it can't really outmaneuver a Gladius, right, in SCM speeds. So it needs to hop into QCM or nav mode. They're going to talk about this, I guess, in a second. But then they can only run, and the other guy can only chase. And where's the gameplay in that? I don't understand it. And my proposition was, and I made a post on Spectrum for this, my proposal is to give them weapons. Once you enter the nav mode, you would still have weapons, no shields, so it will be like a fair game, because the guy that's going to be running, he's going to have his shields down, probably. But then you make it a fair game by having no shields and having weapons, and the attacker is going to be behind the defender, and then you have certain maneuvers, or go into like a raid fight if you have better rates in nav mode. Then you try to outrate the Gladius that's behind you. Let's say you're the defender, or you can do a Cobra maneuver, or you can just run, or you can have turrets that are going to face backwards and like have a shot on the Gladius, so the Gladius cannot shoot you constantly in the back, but it would need to like jank around and all that. So you would have more gameplay and more stuff to do in like you would not be completely defenseless if you're not really good with your mechanical skills when you're face tanking like you are right now in SCM speeds. And then, of course, people told me that I'm stupid and that I like need to wait to see what it is. And here, like in the Star Citizen Live, they said that this is gonna be the final product. And I was like, if you're building a final product, then you gotta talk to the community first. Then you gotta listen to us and find the best thing for you. Also, there's one more thing, honestly, while we're on this topic. SCM speeds are 300 meters per second, right? 300 meters per second for most of the ships. Let's round it up and say that it's 300 meters per second. The current server tick rate is 5 to 12 ticks per second. And their goal tick rate is 30 ticks per second. So what does that tell us? In the perfect world, you would have 30 ticks per second with server meshing dynamics, server meshing and all that. And if that's actually a thing, like if you do not know what a tick rate is, I have a video on that. And also, I talked about, in that video, I talked about the tick rates in competitive games such as Valorant. I think I talked about Counter-Strike, maybe even Rainbow Six Siege. I forgot, but like Valorant, my friend from elementary school, he worked on that game as a dev. And I know that, and you have a video on that the tick rate there is 128, plus you have smoothing. And in Star Citizen, the tick rate is going to be 30, because that's their goal tick rate, right? You're going to have a bigger bandwidth than Valorant. I'm not a dev. I can't, especially not a network engineer, so I can't tell you if a higher tick rate is possible for a universe this big for Star Citizen. Probably not. But the issue is 300 meters per second on a 30 tick rate, like 30 ticks per second. That only means that you will see an update of every 10 meters. Like if a guy goes like forward 300 meters per second, you would see an update every 10 meters, right? And there's also going to be desync on the other side, and there's going to have like the game is going to have some smoothing. I'm getting really tired now, but it's going to have some like network and server smoothing on the client side. And that's what's happening right now with the ships like going forward and then doing this and then like fixing themselves, because like we can see this exaggerated right now because we have so low and shit ticks on servers right now, like 4 to 12, 5 to 12. But with 30, it's gonna be better. But how much better though? Should the SCM speeds be lower than this? That's the question. I don't know. Let's continue.
Of a $500 million project in year 10, this doesn't look like CRG knows what they want, doesn't look like they have any clear plans. The only goal is, let's make space combat fun. But I don't think reducing speeds to SCM will fix this, and we had this before, people were still jousting.
The switch between the modes themselves, because it can't be too easy. If you switch back and forth on a dime, there's no reason to have the two. Part of what makes the two dynamic is this transition between them. So let's talk about that transition. How long are we talking? Is the length of time dependent on different ships or different ship types? And is the length of time something that can be one day adjusted through the use of components and tuning and stuff? What are we thinking here?
So there is a time difference. It is ship based, but it can also be component based as well, because you've got the shields going up and down. Because we didn't want you'd be able to press a button, doom, gone, and you're just in different modes. Because we want the player to make that key choice when they're in when they're in the master mode for combat, for example. We want them to be in that combat mode because they want to do that thing that they've chosen to do. Mm-hmm. But there's consequences to that, and it's the same with flying navigation mode without the shields. There's a choice to that you can go fast and you're just doing your A to B stuff for Star Citizen and you don't want to get involved in combat.
Pause. I don't know why CRG has to make this again very complicated. Why can't I just switch between modes? I still have to wait for my shields when I go from nav mode to combat mode, and when I go from combat mode to nav mode, I still have to wait for my ship to accelerate.
If you're in nav mode and you're traveling at the fastest speed possible and then you suddenly switch over?
So you slow down very aggressively and your face almost comes off.
Pause. Again, why not some very basic physics? Why not let us slow down rather slowly? You still don't have your guns, you still don't have your shields, so you have to wait until you are combat ready, instead of giving us several dozens of Gs.
No, I can already see the
like if they make it so you gotta press the button to get into another mode, I mean it's okay, but also you can make it have a threshold. So if you go over SCM speeds, for example, or with the capacitors, like the squadrons, Star Wars squadrons did, that's a good thing. If you played it, you will know what I'm talking about. But you can also make it like transitional. You can make it like if you're going fast enough, if you have accelerated, like bring down the acceleration speeds of the ships. And then if you went up to 300 meters per second, then you hit the threshold, and then your ship goes into like a slow spool up to the QCM or nav mode. And then your, not afterburners, but your thrusters starts pumping on more thrust, and you go faster. And you go in a straight line more than like, and I see that you guys are talking about decoupled. Like, I hope that decoupled is going to get fixed, and that's not going to be a thing because like decoupled, okay. So I like decoupled. I fly like that. I fight like that, like in decoupled. But also that gives me a huge advantage because you get at least 50% more G's than the other guy. So it basically unlocks your ship. So honestly, I don't know. I don't want to get rid of it. But backstrafing in decoupled, that's like straight up bullshit. And it should not be in the game. Anyway.
Response to what you just said is, well, then put it into the PU and let us see it and let us experiment. But it's going to stay in Squadron 42 for a while, just so it can do all the internal testing, so that it can be very focused. We talked about it in the DCC thing, so you can focus on these specific ships and get these done.
All right, I'm going to respond to this. PvP is the best thing Star Citizen has going at the moment. Makes sense for them to try to nail ship-to-ship combat. Don't think this is the way to go, though. Okay, so we share an opinion on that. But also, 2 years ago, or maybe even 3 years ago now, they said that they're going to do this. And they're still saying that they're going to do this, that they are on the brink of solution. And they showed us the solution, and the solution is to bring it back to like 2.5. Okay, but it was not good then. What are you going to do after that? No, this is the final solution. Sure. But you said the PvP is the best thing Star Citizen has going in the moment. I was a PvPer. Not a great one, but I enjoyed it. It was fun for me. But then it got stale and boring because I would either decimate the guy or I would get decimated. Because there were no tactics to it. It's just like your mechanical skills. It's just like even if you play Overwatch, which relies on your mechanical skills a lot, especially if you're like Widowmaker, which is a sniper, and headshots are insta-kills for squishies or like not the tanks. But even if you play that, there is also some strategy and some like tactics to it. In Star Citizen, it's just like mechanical skills, dude. That's the issue. And that's what needs to change. That's what I would love to see, like why I would love to see something that resembles DCS with the nav mode.
Or you
anyway,
have to expand it to all of the ships of the PU.
Pause. Master modes will stay in Squadron 42 for a while, I guess at least 2 years, so don't expect anything in the universe soon.
Yeah.
To release in the PU, it's a massive feature for us because it changes almost every single component in the game. It changes every single ship in the game. In terms of S42 now, it's in there. You can change all the speeds, but that's on a very limited amount of ships and on a very limited amount of components right now.
Pause. Usual reminder, Squadron 42 was supposed to get released 2014, since Yachi changed it to 2015, and in 2016 they made this video, and now it's at least 2 years away, and I don't think we'll see it in 2 years. How is this possible? This was Master Modes, 30 minutes, without giving any specifics, without showing us even a short video, and without answering many questions.
Yeah.
And once again, this feels like two people who want to make a game and are just starting, and not like a big company in year 10 that has clear goals, clear ideas, and know what they are doing.
Exactly.
Let me know what you think in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. So, okay, he has a funny clip every time. Let's watch it. He's probably going to get pushed by the elevator into the... Yeah. Of course. Yep. That's what happened to me on the stream. Also, I posted that as a short, and the first comment that I got was, are you running Star Citizen on an SSD or an old hard drive? And then the second was, why are you running this on an old PC? And then the next was, do you have a good graphics card, etc. No, like it's not my
Hey,
PC
you're
at all.
still here. You might want to join me on Twitter. My Twitter account is Camural_SC.
Yep. Right. Thank you, Cam, for the video. I'm gonna share it to you. It's a really good video, but TM means trademark, Adil, and we do not know when 318 is gonna come. It was supposed to come this week. At this point, we don't know. But I saw that somebody said they have made a lot of promises. Okay, this is why DCS has incredible dogfighting, because and I concur with you, Simple Choices, because DCS relies on like real world and what's happening in real world, but also it's like a chess game, and that like it was perfectly put by my friend Jack Reacher. It is basically a chess game with like a really fast-paced chess game. So what you would have, for example, you're in a let's not talk in terms of like Gen 4 and Gen 5 fighters. Let's talk in terms of like World War II fighters. So you are in a Spitfire, which you know, because you're flying your Spitfire, you know that it has a really good turn rate. And then the other guy, the attacker, is in a Focke-Wulf, which is a German plane. If you do not know, it doesn't have the best turn rate, but it has more speed. It can go high. It can fly in like high altitudes, and what they would mostly do would be booming and zooming, because they would not be able to turn a turn fight with a Spitfire, because the Spitfire would just outturn them and kill them in one turn. So therefore, the only tactics that they had was like be higher than them, drop down, try to shoot them, and go back up, and like try to regain your energy by going back up, so you can store it again, so you can speed up again. And like the energy, when I'm talking about the energy will be your speed, your velocity, plus the height that you're at, because that's the main point in dogfighting in fighters right now, jet fighters. So that's why it's like a game of chess, because you in a Spitfire, you would see the Focke-Wulf coming down on you. He will get close, you would like bank, I don't know, to the right, or pull up or pull into him. Then he would miss you, and then you will try to like catch him back when he is going up and shoot him and shoot his tail off or his wings off. Now, if we're talking about like F-18s, F-16s and all of that, you know that some planes have better turn rates, some planes have better climbing rates. They can climb faster than the other planes, so you would use that for your advantage. You can't really have that in a space game, but you can have some other things that I guess the developers probably know of that can be something like that. Like they can resemble that and give you the same experience, or like a similar experience that you would like. You would need to think, okay, I have a Gladius behind me, I'm in an arrow, the arrow is better at this, for example. So currently the only thing that you have, if you're in the arrow and he's in the Gladius, you can go to the atmospheres, because your flight is better, like your flight characteristics are better in the atmosphere than the Gladius, because the Gladius does not yaw. Like it can't really yaw inside the atmospheres. So yeah. If you want, let me plug my merch and all that shit while I'm here, while we're talking about that. Wrong screen. All right. So if you want to support me, there's the Patreon link down in the description. The Patreon does not take 30% like YouTube does, but if you want to support me through YouTube, there's Super Chat, there's the join button, and you can subscribe to the channel. It's a monthly subscription, but Super Chat is like instant, and you get like a notification during streams and all of that, and it's super fun and glorious and all that. But also you have merch that I made that you can check out. It's on my merch store, and the stream bot is just like spamming that merch store link, and all of the designs are done by me if you want to check them out. I suggest you just check them out if you don't want to buy anything. But a bunch of people that got the merch were really happy with the quality. I still didn't get it. It's on it's in the customs for 2 weeks now. They just don't want to give it to me because they think that I'm going to sell it. And I just ordered it for myself to check it out and to promote to you guys. So it's fucking Serbia. So if you want to support me and get something in return, the merch store is probably the best thing that you can where you can do that. So yeah.